14 days before her wedding, Emma Carter sat silently while her own parents tried to destroy her in front of the man she loved. They called her a liar. They called her irresponsible. And then they revealed the secret they believed would end her engagement forever. A daughter. A little girl Emma had been forced to give away 9 years earlier. Her father leaned across the dinner table and told her fiancé the child had been abandoned. Her mother claimed Emma had ruined her own life and would ruin his too. They expected shock. They expected anger. They expected Noah to walk away. But Emma didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She didn't need to. Because while her parents were busy exposing a secret from the past, they had no idea that same little girl was already back in Emma's life, and in less than 2 weeks, everything they had built on lies would collapse in front of everyone they knew. December 18th, 2025. A cold winter wind swept across the city rooftops as Emma Carter stood beside Noah Bennett, watching the lights shimmer below. She thought it was just another evening together. She was wrong. Noah reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Before Emma could process what was happening, he dropped to one knee. Her breath caught. "Emma," he said softly, "I already lost 8 years with you. I don't want to lose another day." He opened the box. Inside was a vintage sapphire ring that had belonged to his grandmother. Emma's eyes filled with tears. For a moment she couldn't speak. All the years they had lost flashed through her mind. The heartbreak, the silence, the unanswered questions. Then she nodded. Yes. A laugh escaped through her tears as Noah slipped the ring onto her finger. For the first time in years, everything felt right. Standing beneath the city lights, Emma allowed herself to believe the hardest chapter of her life was finally over. She had no idea a secret buried for nearly a decade was already beginning to rise back to the surface. Noah places the sapphire ring on Emma's finger as light snow begins falling around them. Less than 24 hours later, a phone call from Emma's mother would turn their engagement into the beginning of a family war. The phone call. The morning after the proposal, Emma's phone rang during her lunch break. "Mom," she answered. "Sweetheart, I heard the news." The words sounded warm. The tone didn't. Her mother congratulated her, then immediately began criticizing the engagement. The proposal was too simple. The wedding date was too soon. Everything carried a subtle edge, the kind that made Emma feel 16 years old again. Then came the real reason for the call. "Your father and I would like dinner with you and Noah." Emma hesitated. Dinner? Saturday, 6 o'clock. Not a request. A decision. After the call ended, Emma stared at the phone for a long moment. Somehow, after a 5-minute conversation, she felt like a nervous teenager again, as if the confidence she'd built over the years had quietly slipped through her fingers. Her parents had never shown much interest in Noah before. Why now? Why 2 weeks after the engagement? For the rest of her shift, a quiet feeling followed her. The feeling that a storm was moving closer, and she was walking straight toward it. That evening, when Emma told Noah about the dinner invitation, his response surprised her. And it was the first sign that he was carrying a secret of his own. That evening, Emma told Noah about the dinner invitation while they unpacked groceries in her apartment. "My parents want us there Saturday." Noah paused for a second. Only a second. Then he placed a bag on the counter and nodded. "Okay." Emma looked at him. "Okay?" A small smile appeared on his face. "We'll go together." His calmness surprised her. Anyone who knew her parents would have expected drama, questions, concern. But Noah didn't seem worried at all. If anything, he looked prepared. Later that night, Emma sat alone at her desk reviewing wedding plans. The seating chart lay open in front of her. Without thinking, she moved her parents' names farther from the head table, then a little farther. She stared at the page. A knot formed in her chest. Every important moment in her life seemed to come with a warning from her parents. For years, she had learned to expect the worst whenever they said they wanted to talk. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Saturday would be another uncomfortable family dinner. But deep down, she didn't believe that. When she finally turned off the light and climbed into bed, sleep refused to come. One question kept circling through her mind. Why did her parents suddenly care so much about Noah? And why did it feel like they were hiding something? Late at night, Emma quietly moves her parents' names farther away on the wedding seating chart before staring at it in uneasy silence. What Emma didn't know was that her parents had already made a decision. At Saturday's dinner, they were going to reveal a secret they believed would destroy her wedding before it ever began. Saturday evening arrived faster than Emma wanted. The drive to her parents' house felt unusually long, almost like the road itself was resisting every mile. Noah kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other resting gently over hers. Neither of them spoke much. Neither needed to. The Anderson family home looked exactly as it always had. Perfect lawn. Perfect windows. Perfect silence behind the walls. Emma hated how familiar it still felt. Inside, her mother greeted them with a smile that felt practiced. The smile on her mother's face reminded Emma why she'd spent years keeping parts of her life private. Emma, Noah, come in. Her father appeared moments later from the dining room. For once, he seemed unusually cheerful. Too cheerful. A knot formed in Emma's chest. Something about tonight felt prepared in advance. Dinner was already waiting. Candles flickered softly along the center of the table. Wine glasses shimmered under the chandelier light. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. Her parents exchanged brief glances when they thought she wasn't looking. Small, controlled, carefully timed. The kind of glances people shared when they already knew how a conversation would end. Halfway through dinner, her father slowly placed his fork down. The sound was soft, but it cut through the room like a warning. Silence followed immediately. Emma felt her stomach tighten. Then he turned toward Noah, looked him directly in the eyes, and said calmly, "Before you marry my daughter, there's something you deserve to know." And in that moment, Emma realized this wasn't going to be a conversation. It was going to be a reveal that could destroy everything she had built. The room stayed silent. Emma could hear the soft ticking of the wall clock. Too loud. Too slow. Her father leaned back slightly, as if choosing every word carefully. Then he spoke. Emma had a baby 8 years ago. Noah didn't move. Emma didn't breathe. Her mother quickly added, "She gave the child up for adoption and never told you." The words landed exactly as they intended. Like a weapon. Emma opened her mouth. "That's not what happened." But her father continued. "Did she also tell you she never knew who the father was? She was reckless, confused, running around with different men after your breakup." Emma felt her stomach drop. The lie sounded practiced, polished, repeated so many times her parents almost believed it themselves. Then Noah spoke. "Enough." The room froze. He slowly placed his fork on the table, then looked directly at Emma's parents. Calm, controlled, unshaken. "I know exactly who the father is." Silence. Emma's father stared at him. His confident expression faltered for the first time. "What are you talking about?" Noah reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and placed it face up on the table. A DNA report filled the display. 23andMe. His eyes never left theirs. 6 months ago, he said quietly. DNA testing confirmed something I've suspected for a long time. Then he delivered the truth. "I'm her father." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Emma's mother's face drained of color. Her father simply stared, as if the entire story he had planned to tell had just collapsed in front of him. For the first time that night, they looked afraid. And Noah wasn't finished. Because the next truth would reveal something Emma's parents had spent 8 years trying to keep buried. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Emma's father finally found his voice. Even if that's true, his words sounded weaker now. The adoption was final. It's over. Noah shook his head. No. Then he picked up his phone again and opened a photo. A smiling little girl with dark curls, standing between him and Emma. The date was from only a few weeks earlier. Emma's mother's eyes widened. Her father went completely still. Noah turned the screen toward them. Her name is Lily. The room seemed to shrink. Emma could actually hear her mother's breathing, fast, uneven. Noah's voice remained calm. We found her. Another silence. Longer this time. Then Emma's mother whispered, No. We're in contact with her adoptive family, Noah continued. They know everything. Emma watched panic spread across her parents' faces. Not sadness, not regret. Panic. Because for the first time in 8 years, they weren't controlling the story anymore. Emma slowly stood from her chair. You told me they never wanted contact. Her mother looked away. You told me they chose a clean break. Still no answer. And in that silence, Emma finally got the truth. They had lied. All of it. For years. But what Emma's parents did next would force the battle out of the family home and into a room full of witnesses. The silence didn't last long. Emma's mother pushed back her chair so hard it nearly tipped over. This is a mistake. Her voice trembled with anger. That child belongs with her real family. Noah's expression hardened. She does. Emma's father stood. You are reopening wounds that should have stayed closed. Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. 8 years. 8 years of grief. 8 years of wondering. And they still refused to admit what they had done. Her mother pointed toward Noah. If you continue this, you'll ruin your future. Then she turned to Emma. Choose. The word landed like a slap. Us, her mother said. Or this. Emma stared at her. For the first time in her life, the choice felt easy. I choose my daughter. The room went silent again. Her mother's face hardened. Then came the threat. If that child appears at your wedding, we'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Emma looked at Noah. Noah looked at her, and neither of them backed down. 2 weeks later, Emma's parents walked into the rehearsal dinner believing they still had the power to destroy her. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 2 weeks later, the rehearsal dinner finally arrived. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Friends laughed. Family members shared stories. For the first hour, everything seemed normal. Emma almost allowed herself to relax. Almost. Because across the room sat her parents. Quiet. Watching. Waiting. Patricia Anderson wore the same confident smile Emma had seen her use her entire life. The smile that said she believed she still controlled the narrative, that she could still shape how people saw her daughter. But Noah had been preparing for this moment for months, and tonight, he wasn't going to let anyone rewrite the truth. As dessert plates were cleared away, Noah slowly rose from his chair. The sound of his glass gently tapping a spoon echoed through the ballroom. One by one, the conversation stopped. Emma looked up at him. A nervous feeling stirred in her chest. Not fear, anticipation, because she knew that look. Noah was about to change everything. He smiled warmly at the guests, then glanced toward the ballroom entrance, and said 5 words that made Emma's heart stop. There's someone we'd like you to meet. The ballroom doors began to open, and the person walking through them was the last person Patricia Anderson ever expected to see. The ballroom doors opened, and for a moment, the entire room went silent. An 8-year-old girl stepped inside, White dress, purple sash, dark curls, bright eyes. Walking beside her were Jennifer and Michael Walsh, the couple who had raised her, loved her, protected her, for 8 years. Emma felt tears fill her eyes, because the little girl walking toward her wasn't just Lily. She was hope. She was healing. She was everything Emma thought she had lost forever. Across the room, Patricia Anderson's face lost all color. George sat frozen in his chair. Neither of them had expected this. Lily reached the head table, then looked up at Emma and Noah. A smile spread across her face. "Hi." The single word somehow carried 8 years of distance, 8 years of questions, 8 years of missed birthdays. Then Lily turned toward the guests. Completely fearless, completely unaware of the storm she had just walked into. "My name is Lily," she smiled. "And I'm Emma and Noah's daughter." A wave of shocked whispers swept through the ballroom, but Lily wasn't finished. She pointed toward Jennifer and Michael. "And they're my mom and dad too." The room fell silent again, trying to understand, trying to process, trying to absorb the beautiful complexity of the family standing before them. And at that moment, Patricia Anderson realized something terrifying. The story she had spent years trying to bury was no longer hers to control. Then Patricia suddenly stood up, and the very first words out of her mouth made the entire ballroom turn toward her. Patricia stood abruptly, her voice shook with anger. "This is inappropriate." The room turned toward her. Lily looked up, confused, curious. Then Patricia pointed toward the little girl. "You shouldn't be here." A heavy silence fell across the ballroom. Lily blinked, then asked softly, "Are you my grandma?" Patricia froze. For the first time that night, she had no answer. Lily tilted her head. "Emma told me I have grandparents who didn't want me." A few guests exchanged uneasy glances. Then Lily asked quietly, "Was that you?" The question hung in the air. Simple, honest, impossible to escape. Patricia opened her mouth, but no words came out. A voice spoke from one of the tables. "Emma deserves happiness?" Then another voice joined in. "That little girl is clearly loved." Soon, support for Emma was coming from every corner of the room. Friends, colleagues, family, even people who had known Patricia for years. And suddenly, the version of the story Patricia had protected for 8 years collapsed, right in front of everyone. Emma looked at Lily, then knelt beside her, tears shining in her eyes. Lily smiled, reached for her hand, and asked the question Emma had dreamed of hearing. "Can I call you Mom, Emma?" Emma laughed through tears. "Of course you can." For a moment, nothing else mattered. Not the judgment, not the lies, not the years they had lost. Only this little girl, standing right in front of her. No longer a memory, no longer a dream. Family. For the first time in 8 years, Emma wasn't losing a daughter. She was finding one. Some families are given, some are chosen, and some are fought for. Emma lost 8 years, but in the end, love found its way back home. And that's where the truth finally came out. After years of silence, lies, and heartbreak, she didn't just find her daughter, she took her life back. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Revenge Diary. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we expose the truth. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.